Hi guys, this is Vitaly with AFT Dispatch and A2C Logistics, and in today's video we're recording from home because Nebraska has been snowed in. Anyway, we're going to talk about CPI and how they've changed the way that they account for the numbers, and everything is now honky-dory. First, roll the intro. Welcome back. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please like the video, be sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a single release of our videos, where every Friday we're talking about something that could benefit you in your trucking businesses, in your trucking careers, as well as cover the loads we've successfully booked for our customers, consisting of leased-on owner-operators and carriers operating under their own MC authorities, running under our truck dispatch services. As always, guys, big thank you for all the likes you've provided in all the previous videos. Please do keep them coming, and let's talk about CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, why it's important, how it reflects the economy, your everyday spending, and obviously the trucking industry, because without trucking, America simply stops. So took a bunch of notes, and we're going to go through these in order, because I think this is going to be one of the more important videos that we've released on this channel, and I'm hoping that this will actually help people understand how the CPI is calculated, what the changes are, and why it's actually important, because this is the kind of jargon or lingo that's been thrown around in the industry. You see it on the news, everyone's talking CPI this, CPI that. First of all, there are multiple levels of CPI, and what the CPI is generally is it counts the cost of living, basically, right? Basically the CPI calculation has changed, and the Consumer Price Index is, as I wrote it down here, is a measure of the average change over time in the prices by urban consumers for a market basket of goods and services. And so that's kind of like the official description of that. Right now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, you guys may have heard of that organization. They updated spending weights basing it on data from a single calendar year to increase precision and relevance. And they used to use a 2-year of expenditure, so they used to compare that. Now, the 2 years would not really help reflect things in this year, so what they're doing is a 1 year. In my opinion, this is actually going to make it less precise and less relevant, because you're going to see minor changes and not the actual real-life changes that you would expect to see from over the past 2 years, for example, where numbers were actually realistic and we're actually going to see a real change. Because there's really no point of looking at what happened just a year ago when it was kind of bad and now it's just worse. So what are we really measuring? Needless to say, I'm not an economist, so what do I know? But common sense is common sense. So housing will now account for nearly 45% of CPI. And here's another thing. Used car prices have been lowered in importance. And we're going to go into some of the details here, in my opinion, on how this is actually going to realistically affect the numbers, and why this may not be the right approach. But what do I know? Now, there's also there's multiple CPIs. There are actually several, and so we're looking at basically the Consumer Price Index as an average of everything that's going on, because it's felt that is really what supersedes all other indices that are out there. Now, there's also a Core CPI, and the Core CPI does not include, or it excludes, food and energy costs. So, you tell me which one's more important. Now, something of importance here is that until 1983, homeowner costs, they were actually measured largely by looking at housing prices. So they'd look at housing prices and figure out, okay, housing went up by 3%, 5%, and that was the end-all be-all. Now they're simply going to ask homeowners how much they think their house would rent for. Now, generally the problem there is that most folks think that their house is worth more, or it should rent on the open market for more than it actually is worth. And so the numbers automatically is skewed, and when that's the largest category and nearly 45% of the entire index is calculated based on that, well, we're starting to play with some, funky numbers there at that point. Now, next, ground beef prices, they haven't changed much, and what's interesting is that it's specifically ground beef that is what's used for meat prices. Now they do look at like flank steak, they do look at filet mignon, they look at other, but the primary numbers come from ground beef, and that's something that actually was caught about a year ago, year and a half ago, when folks noticed that ground beef prices weren't really increasing. Everything was going up in price, but ground beef prices remained about the same. And the CPI index numbers would come in and they would reflect the figures of meat prices, but little did most people know that it was primarily based on ground beef prices, where the prices were actually kept down, which made it look like inflation wasn't happening. Everything's fine, folks. Everything's fine. Now, the way to calculate CPI, the easiest way, the easiest approach is to look at the baseline. A baseline will be 100. So if you have a CPI of 101, that's a 1% inflation. So it's a lot more complicated than that, but ultimately that's what it boils down to. A 101 CPI is equal to a 1% inflation, or a 1% increase in the CPI index. Now, they use a basket of goods and services, and that basket consists of 8 major categories and over 200 subcategories that are based or 8 groups, as they call it, and over 200 subcategories, and it's broken down. Now, the main groups are going to be, and not in any particular order, but I've kind of put them a little bit of an order, but it's housing, food and beverage, clothing, transportation, medical recreation. I think I made a mistake there. Education and other. And ultimately, the problem with this type of a calculation, again, is that the poor, the wealthy, and the rural dwellers tend to make different purchasing decisions. They might buy different types of items from your average urban dweller, and the CPI accounts for urban dwellers. So what about the rest of the folks in the country? Not everyone is living in the urban environment, right? Now, another thing that's really, really interesting is that when we look at December 2020 and through December 2021 numbers, what we're actually going to see is increases in a few categories. There was a ton of categories, and I just broke it down to these 4 to kind of give you an idea. Number 1 was regular unleaded gas. Now, mid-grade and high-grade premium actually also increased, of course, but number 1 category was your regular unleaded gas. Then it was fuel oil, used cars and trucks, as well as included rentals, so sales and rentals. And finally, propane, kerosene, and firewood. So interesting that we noticed that, regular unleaded gas and fuel and, those categories are actually excluded from the core numbers because, hey, it's not important. They fluctuate too much. So, we can play with numbers all day long, but the truth is, how much can you actually trust these figures? Now, let's take a look here. We talked about ground beef, so let's touch on that real quick here. I'm going to end the video with this and kind of have a little bit of information to think about. Uncooked ground beef was second to last in the previous years, the December 2020 to 2021, at 13% increase versus window coverings at 12.9%. So as mentioned, ground beef hadn't increased in price, and they're using that as part of the CPI index to show that everything's fine, folks. Everything's hunky-dory. Everything's great. So ultimately, I'm going to leave you guys with this. Now we have a dozen eggs that are officially, costing more than a pound of ground beef. Okay? And ground beef actually fell in price from exactly a year ago. So there you go, guys. Ground beef has decreased in price. Things are great. So start putting more ground beef in your omelets and less eggs. All right, guys, we're going to switch over to camera. We're going to look over the loads that we booked for our customers. It's not looking good. You got to hold on. We'll show you the numbers. We'll discuss that in further detail. Any comments, questions, and concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. Make sure to hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in just a moment. Welcome back. Let's take a look at some of these loads. Guys, this week, numbers are looking certainly better. In certain areas, we got vans, reefers, and even a flatbed. Everybody did, I would say fairly well. Some did really, really well, and we're going to look into that right now. We're going to start off with a reefer coming out of Cloud, Minnesota, going to Northampton, Pennsylvania. This is a 42,000-pound load of refrigerated goods running 60 to 68 degrees on a reefer. 1,195 miles booked at $4,183. Which got him $350 per mile on a ton of miles. Excellent job there. Then Carlisle, Pennsylvania, going to Hopkinton, New Hampshire. 25,000-pound load of grocery products, 50 degrees on a reefer. 458 miles booked at $1,850. Got him $404 per mile. Then Fall River, Massachusetts, going to Orlando, Florida, another long run, lightweight, 20,000 pounds of frozen foods at -10 on a reefer, 1,269 miles booked at $3,000, got him $236 per mile. And that was it for this driver. It's a reefer. Actually stayed on the road for 6 days, Friday through Thursday. Ended up grossing an amazing $9,033 in just 6 days, mind you. 2,922 loaded miles booked at an average of 309 per loaded mile. Guys, money is still there. You need a little bit of luck, good dispatcher, and you'll get there. Next, we're gonna go with a dry van coming out of Fort Worth, Texas, going to Springfield, Missouri. This is a 44,000 pound load of general merchandise. 442 miles booked at $1,000, got him $226 a mile. Then Meta, Missouri to Pueblo, Colorado, a longer run, 40,000 pound load of groceries, 741 miles booked at $26.78, got him $361 a mile, going to Colorado. Then out of Commerce City, Colorado, going to Harrisburg, looks like Nebraska. 42,000 pound load of food products, 176 mile run, booked at $800, got him $455 a mile. And that was great. And then Gering, Nebraska to Lubbock, Texas, final run of the week. And that's 44,000 pound load of totes, empty totes, 641 miles booked at $1,650, got him $257 per mile there. And did a great job here too. Ran Monday to Monday, so 7 days on the road. Gross $6,128 for the 7 days. Ran exactly 2,000 miles on the dot at an average of 306 per loaded mile average in a regular dry van solo. Way to go. Excellent job. Next, we got ourselves another reefer. Did very well. Coming out of South Bend, Indiana, going to Tupelo, Mississippi with a 40,000 pound load of refrigerated goods. 644 miles booked at $1,700. Which got him $264 per mile. Then two pick, one dropper coming out of Wardaman, Mississippi, and the second pick in Wynne, Arkansas, going to St. Louis, Missouri. 30,000 pound load of potatoes, 55 degrees on the reefer, 475 miles booked at $1,200, got him $253 a mile, going to a decent market. Then out of Edwardsville, Illinois, going to Dixon, Illinois, a little quick run there, 43,000 pound load of beer, 38 degrees on a reefer, 236 miles booked at $800, got him $339 a mile. Then DeKalb, Illinois to Canton, Michigan with a 17,000 pound load of foodstuffs, 60 to 65 degrees on a reefer, 316 miles booked at $1,400, got him $443 per mile. And finally, Westland, Michigan with a one pick, two dropper, going to Warrensville, Michigan, and Wooster, Ohio. It's a 35,000 pound load of fresh cut flowers, 38 degrees on the reefer. The flowers are coming out. 228 miles booked at $1,100, got him $482 per mile. Excellent job. 7 days on the road, Thursday to Thursday, gross $6,200 on their 1,899 loaded miles that ran at an average of 326 per loaded mile average. Certainly some increases here. The grosses might not be fantastic, but the rates are certainly very good. And right now, that's how you make your money. You cut down on your expenses, on your diesel, on the liability you take on the runs, putting on a ton of miles. You definitely got to, take what you can get at this point. Then we got ourselves, let's take a look here. Let's see here. Next, we got ourselves a dry van coming out of Council Bluffs, Iowa to LaSalle, Colorado with a 44,000 pound load of miscellaneous products, 517 miles booked at $2,100, got him $406 a mile. Then Fort Collins, Colorado to Salt Lake City, Utah, 44,000 pound load of seeds, 454 miles booked at $1,200, got him $264 a mile. And then out of Salt Lake City, going to St. George, Utah, warming up a little bit. It's a 12,000 pound load of insulation, 302 miles booked at $700, got them $232 a mile. Then they took the next load out of Las Vegas because St. George never has anything. Las Vegas, Nevada to Thornton, Colorado. It's a light load of 13,000 pounds of pallets, 755 miles booked at $2,000, got him $265 per mile. Now, this driver was on the road for 7 days as well, Friday to Friday, grossed exactly $6,000 in their 7 days, ran 2,028 loaded miles at an average of $296 a mile. So excellent job there. Next, we got ourselves, I believe, a flatbed. Yes. The flatbed leaves out of Cleves, Ohio, going to Winter, South Dakota. 45,000 pound load of building materials, 900 or booked at $3,000, 960 miles, got him $313 a mile. Then Atkinson, Nebraska to Rio Medina, Texas with a 48,000 pound heavy load of building materials, but such is the life of flatbeds and step decks. It's booked at 2275, 1,040 miles, got him $219 per mile. Then New Braunfels, Texas to Beeville, Texas with a 44,000 pound load of chemicals. This is a non-hazardous material load, exactly 100 miles. Booked at exactly $1,000, got him exactly $10 a mile. Way to go. Then San Antonio, Texas, going to Jacksonville, Florida with a 48,000 pound load of building materials, long run, 1,065 miles, booked at $1,980. Got him $1.86 going out to Jacksonville, Florida. So 7 days on the road. Flatbed solo driver grossed $8,255. Got him $261 per loaded mile on their 3,165 loaded miles. Excellent, excellent job. Next, we're gonna go to a dry van coming out of Lockport, New York, going to Norwich, New York. 6,000 pound light load of printed labels, 191 miles, booked at $1,000. Got him $524 a mile. Then Watkins Glen, New York to Chariton, Iowa, and Cherokee, Iowa. So one pick, two drops, 42,000 pound load of foodstuffs, 1,209 miles, booked at $27.70, got him $229 a mile. Then Sheldon, Iowa, going to Hagerstown, Maryland. Another light load at 7,000 pounds of miscellaneous products or FAK. 1,142 miles, booked at $31.75 and 50 cents, got him $278 per mile. And finished off their week at Aspers, Pennsylvania, going to Salisbury, North Carolina. 43,000 pound load of beverages, 415 miles, booked at 1,050, got him an impressive $253 per mile. 7 days on the road, Monday to Monday, grossed $7,995.50. Very impressive. Ran 2,957 loaded miles at an average of 270 per loaded mile average. Excellent job. I'm gonna finish off with the last one. Another dry van out of Faribault, Minnesota, going to Birmingham, Alabama with a 40,000 pound load of dry food, 1,010 miles, booked at $25.50, got him $252 a mile. Then Sylacauga, Alabama to Waukon, Iowa. So 44,000 pound load of clean plastic resin, 915 miles, booked at $19.50, got him $213 a mile. And then La Crosse, Wisconsin, going to Houston, Texas. It's a 42,000 pound load of ingredients, booked at 1,205 miles, booked at $2,585, got them $215 per mile there. 7 days on the road, Friday to Friday, grossed 7,085 loaded miles. $7,085 in gross, ran 3,130 loaded miles at an average of 226 per loaded mile average. So guys, as you can see, the markets have been declining. The CPI numbers aren't happy. People and governments are playing with our numbers, trying to make us smile and happy. Whatever it takes. But the bottom line is that the markets are the way the markets are, and dispatchers are as the dispatchers are. You get what you pay for. You want to get the kind of rates that we're describing here, week in, week out for many years now. Guys, the truth is, there's no replacement for experience. There really isn't. Our guys know exactly what they're doing, and I'll leave it at that. If you want to make this kind of money, if you want to be successful, if you want to get through these difficult times, certainly give us a call or text us at 801-448-6363. You can also get on our website at aftdispatch.com and simply click if you're an owner-operator or a carrier, select a category, put your information, we'll get in touch with you. We just redesigned the website. It's super easy to use. It's a lot more pretty. It's a whole lot more user-friendly. Take a look. Let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. Looks like the numbers are increasing ever so slightly. Let's hope for a better, brighter future. Until next week, guys, stay healthy, be wealthy. Take care.